Whether you're capturing your gameplay, a lesson, or streaming either one of those, an external capture card is one of the best, if not the best solution around. In this case, the EZ Recorder 330 from our friends at AverMedia. The reason I say that an external capture card is the best, an internal, you have to wait till your system is on and in Windows before you can actually do anything. An external capture card, you can capture your BIOS. You can capture gameplay on a PS5, gameplay on your Nintendo. You could capture your VHS tapes and transfer them to digital. You can stream directly to your NAS, record it on your NAS, record it on a micro SD card. In this video, we're going to go over from beginning to end, from unboxing to streaming a video on YouTube Live and everything in between, showing you the features and functions of the AverMedia EZ Recorder 330. Let's get into it. We'll go around the box in one sec. Let me get rid of this for the glare. All right, just a little bit easier to see. The EZ Recorder 330. Here we can see 4K, ER 330, EZ Recorder 330. Along the side here, just EZ Recorder 330. Here's some of the specifications, and then along the bottom, serial number, UPC, all that good stuff. Along the top, just some more of what they offer. 1080p, 60 Hertz, 4K at 60 Hertz, HEVC, H.265, PC free, and recording. And we're going to go over all of that in this video. On the back, English, and then some of the same we saw along the top. All right, here we can actually see the unit itself. EZ Recorder 330 button, then Ethernet port, 2 HDMI ports, IR AV in, DC in. In the bottom here, serial number, and then everything here, and feet to keep it from moving around on a surface. And then here we can see the power brick. And then this would be for different countries, slide it in. And it's 5.5 feet, and I'll put the conversion down below. And this is a 3.5 millimeter to IR, and this cable is 10 feet. The HDMI cable, which is 5 feet. A composite to 3.5 millimeter cable. See that right here. And then we have this power connection, not for the US. This one as well. Then this one, which is for the US, where I currently reside. Just go ahead and click that on there. And of course you can do the same with all the others depending on where you live. 2 AAA batteries. And the remote control, which I will go ahead and just pop in the batteries real quick. And the quick guide, which we'll go over everything in this video. Before we actually connect it to a PC, let's go over everything this has real quick. So number one is the power button, which is also the record button. Single press to turn on, long press for about 3 seconds to start recording. Then again, another long press to turn it off or to force shut it down. Then along the front here, we have the 3.5 millimeter headset port. And then all of this right over here is the IR receiver. Coming along over here, the USB port and the micro SD card port. And coming along the back, we have the IR port, which connects to that cable that I showed you earlier. And then the composite AV input, which connects to that composite cable that had the 3.5 millimeter here. HDMI output, HDMI input, Ethernet, and DC input. Now let's go ahead and connect it to the PC. First thing we'll do is plug in the AC adapter. So this is the backside of where I typically set up my PC when I'm going to be flashing the BIOS and installing Windows and everything. This is the rear. I already have everything cabled relatively nicely so that I can easily access everything. HDMI is over here on the back of my Asus monitor, and it would be over here that plugs directly into my PC. So that very cable that comes from the monitor to the PC, we're going to plug in to the out. See that right there? The out. All right, and now that's the cable I've already had. And now we're going to plug in the other cable This is the one that comes with the AverMedia ER330. We're going to plug that into the in. And then we'll take this end and plug it right into the graphics card. Of course, yours might look a little different. So again, the out is going to the monitor. That signal is coming from the PC. So that's coming in right over here. So in from the PC right here and out from the capture card over to the monitor. Just an easier way that I see it. And then after that, we'll use the power cable. Just plug it in right over here. Okay, and you'll see that start flashing. That's trying to make a connection to the PC, but the PC is off right now. Coming back on this side, I didn't do anything, but the light stopped blinking red, and then I see this screen on here. So using the remote, select English. Definitely read through this incredibly important information. HDMI pass-through, output signal when device is off. We'll click OK. And make sure an Ethernet cable is plugged in and a micro SD card or hard disk drive is installed before setting up the device. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to plug in the micro SD card from the GC513. So I'll just grab the device and I'll go ahead and slide it in here. And now we need to plug in an Ethernet cable right back here. One sec. Because I'm right next to my router and switch, I'll go ahead. I have two cables back here. I'll just plug in, or maybe it doesn't have lights. So we'll go ahead and just keep this one in for right now. So now that I have the micro SD card and an Ethernet cable installed, could have also been a hard drive through USB. Okay, again to go ahead. Now it shows network connection, internet connected, date and time. I'll go ahead and go in here. No signal. Let's go back to menu. We'll go to settings, date and time. Let's go ahead and change that. Auto NTP timing. Let's go ahead and enable that. Looks like maybe we can't set up the time there, but we'll get back to it later on. Disk management, and we don't have a hard drive plugged in. Or under HDMI, recording snapshot, H.264. Let's go ahead and set that up to H.265. And let's see if we have optimal. Even though I probably won't ever use snapshot myself, but instant highlight to be logged in. We'll take care of that in a minute. And NAS recording, I don't have a headphone plugged in just yet. We could set the power management. Let's go ahead and see if there's a firmware update. So for this one, we're going to need to be connected to a computer, which is the reason why I brought you over here. Come back, user experience improvement, share anonymous data. I'll probably put disagree, but you can leave it under agree, and you can restore the settings here and your product information here. So I'll go back here. Then we can schedule a list of things to record. Media Studio, we can't take one just yet because we don't have a hard drive. Okay, that's it here. So let's go ahead and turn on the computer real quick. All right, now computer's on and we're going through the capture card. So then again, you can see down here, we are connected to the PC, the power's on. If we wanted to turn it off, just press this button there and it's going to turn off the screen because that's where that's connected to. So press it again. You see that blue light turn on, start blinking, and then that activates this to turn on. Okay. Now, if you weren't on HDMI 1, you can just switch over here to 2, 3, or 4, and then that'll kick in finding the correct source. So when you pop the new micro SD card in, formatted NTFS, it immediately starts scanning. I couldn't get to the screen in time. And then it tells you, hey, we found your selected storage path, and then you're good to go. So just press OK here. Now it's telling you your storage path, which is on that micro SD card under the recording folder. So we'll hit F1 to save, then OK here. So now we have our recording path. Then we can see on the top left-hand corner, we have 21 hours and 15 minutes worth of potential recording time. Media Studio, we don't have anything on here just yet. So what we can do is we'll go to my site. Let me go ahead and close this out. So now on my page, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring you out. That way you can see the 330, and I'll go ahead, hit play. And now I'm going to hit record. So right up here, we'll see the recording box, and the ER330 is now slowly blinking red and off.
Interested in installing it
as a Windows drive. You want it as a secondary. Okay, so I'm going to stop this here. Stop the recording. Okay, you saw that turn blue. So now we'll go back to the menu, Media Studio, and now we can see I did 2 as I was testing. So we can go ahead and press OK there. So that's playing from that box back onto the TV what we recorded earlier. That's pretty awesome. And as you saw, it's also playing the audio that came from it. Now let me go show you some more of the connections maybe connected to a console. This also works perfectly, not only for newer consoles, which I'll show you in a second, but for older consoles like the Nintendo or the Atari 2600. So my particular Nintendo doesn't work anymore, but this console plays Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Genesis games. I'll go ahead and link it down below. It uses the composite cables like the Nintendo does. Now there's also HDMI, but I was using composite. Now to connect that to the ER330, I connected one HDMI to HDMI out. Then I connected it to the input where I power all those consoles from. And then I would use that 3.5 millimeter cable, the AV cable, plug it into the AV in right over here. Now that splits out to the composite. So I plug in those composite cables and that's set here. Then on the console, I just plug in the composite right over here. Yellow, white, and red. I plug in whatever game into the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, or Genesis slots. Turn her on. All right, and there we go, Legend of Zelda. Go ahead, press start, and that is the one I just created right now. If I wanted to record from it, and now if you could see that blinking red right over here, and then just a quick recording. Thank you, kind sir. And all my classics can be recorded now. That's pretty sweet. Now that was just on the Nintendo. That's going to work on anything that utilizes composite, like the Sega Master System, Genesis, N64 as well. That's also going to work on VCRs. If you have some old VHS tapes that you have some memories on, you want to transfer over, you could do that as well. It's going to be the same process. If we want to move over to newer generation consoles, like the PS5, we can do that as well. Let me show you real quick. I have my PS5 on this breakout box and it's on port number 3. So I'm going to disconnect it from here, which turns off the TV. I'm going to plug it into in, and then I'm going to plug the cable the ER330 came with. I'm going to plug into out, and now I'm going to plug the out cable back to where the PS5 cable was on the breakout box. And there's cables holding it up, so don't worry too much about it. I have a big mess of stuff up here. So we can see this switched to blue. Now we're on the PS5 screen, so one sec. Since we're playing around with all this stuff, that has to reset itself. So now I'll come into a game real quick. All right, now I'm not sure, I haven't played this game before, so I don't know anything about it. Moving around. So now I'm gonna hit record. You see this is blue right now. So I'm gonna hit record. Now you saw it blink and now it's red. So what I'm playing on here, and you can see on the screen, says recording. So now coming out here, and I'm not going to interact with anybody, maybe with these butterflies, which you can't do anything with, but you can see we are recording and the sound is coming across correctly. So one thing that I did have to do in order to get this to work, coming out here, I did have to go into settings. And I had to come under system, under HDMI, and I had to disable HDCP. So HDCP, high bandwidth digital content protection, is meant to protect the media going to the TV back and forward, and it's not supposed to allow you to record stuff. So that's why you have to disable it in order for it to work. That does mean there are a few things that may not work correctly with HDCP enabled, but if you're not recording, just go ahead and re-enable it. And just remember, next time you want to record, disable it. Aside from that, now we've seen the Nintendo off of composite, then we've seen PS5 off of HDMI. Both work off of the record button, so that's beautiful, wireless. And then of course, you can also capture off of your own computer like normal. And now this time we don't have Ethernet connected to it. It's just HDMI to the monitor and HDMI to the PC. So for example, I'll open up CyberPunk 2077 and I'm not recording yet. Okay, so now we see it coming up. Now I'll hit record. Now you see that little recording coming up right over here. And let me go ahead and just start up a quick match. And that's it. We're recording. And you know, we don't need anything special. Everything's being recorded straight onto the SD card like I did back on the GC513, but now it's so much easier because I don't need to deal with tapping the button every single time. Everything's right there. So much easier. So before we go any further, to make sure we get everything we can out of this capture card, let's go ahead and check for updates for the firmware. Here we'll open up Edge or Chrome or whatever. This is almost a clean install, so that's why I have it. And on the AverMedia support site for the 330, we'll click on download. Here it'll tell you the latest firmware, which was December 27th, 2023. Then you can go to your version. You might have to scroll down a little bit and see all the fixes that have happened in between your version and the latest version. Now, to see what version you're on, you can find your version by clicking on the remote, by clicking on menu. And on the menu screen, we'll go down to settings, and then we'll go down to firmware update. The latest version is 10.5, and that is the latest version on the website as well. I will have to admit, I've already recorded this portion, but the video got messed up, so I'm kind of backfilling. But regardless, chances are the version you buy won't be the latest that's on the website. So I'm going to show you how to update that real quick. So we'll pop in an NTFS formatted thumb drive. Then we're gonna plug it in, first time, into the USB port of our machine. Now we're gonna go ahead and click over here to download it. It's going to download this bin file up here. So we're going to click on this folder here. We're going to copy it. Then we're going to paste it onto that thumb drive. Right click and paste. So we'll just disconnect that drive and pop it into the AverMedia. Immediately after plugging in the drive, we'll have the checking disk pop up. Only takes a few seconds. Perfect. So here it shows us the setting is complete. It gives us the current storage path and all that good information. It disappears real quick. So now what we'll do is we'll press the menu button. We'll come down to settings. Then we'll go back to that firmware version. And then we'll hit F2 for USB update. And if it was an older version, it would have started the update. It will take about a minute or so, but because it finds already the most current version, 0.15, it already lets us know that we have the current version. I always recommend on a new piece of hardware, even later on, that part's just me, but when you get a new piece of hardware, flash it to the latest and the greatest. That way you have all the features, all the flaws, all fleshed out, and you're using it to its current 100% ability. So we've captured gaming on a console, gaming on a PC, all from a micro SD card. What if we wanted more options? Well, we have them. We can also capture to a NAS. Let me show you real quick. Now again, to take care of that, we'll tap the menu button, and then in the menu, we'll go to settings. We'll go to NAS recording, we'll press that. So let's add a NAS or network neighborhood that supports SMB protocol. So we'll click add. So then we'll hit F1 and let's go ahead, enter the location. 1 second. account number. Then after you add that, you press OK, and then it enters in wherever you're recording. So for example, if we come back over here, so if we want to start recording, I'm going to remove the micro SD card. So I just unplugged it. I am going to start recording now that we're recording directly to our NAS. Now I'll load up some CyberPunk.
Let's get out of here.
All right, and we are recording video. We're recording gameplay, and we can see the frame rate. Since we're not capturing on the card itself, the frame rate is 100% what the frame rate's going to be. And that's beautiful. Makes me incredibly happy. Now you can see, because of the frame rate we're getting, you can see the system I'm playing on. It is not the highest end system. It is a budget system. So we're getting great performance for what it is. But anyway, and we're stopped here. Let's go ahead, close out of here. And now let's jump on the NAS real quick, 1 sec. All right, so this is the video. 1:37, 3 minutes ago. Recording with audio. Now, obviously, that audio in the game wasn't going to have my audio because we weren't using a microphone from there. So you were able to hear the exact audio from the game. Everything played beautiful and it looked beautiful as well. The resolution is great. The same resolution that I'm playing with in the game now. We can also stream from this. So then to do YouTube streaming, so we'll go into settings, then we'll go into the streaming section, YouTube. We have 3 options. We have YouTube login, Facebook, and Twitch. Since I use YouTube, I'm gonna go ahead, click here, and then it gives me this. I need to use this to authenticate. So I grab my phone and I grab the code and then I go to it and then I hit OK here to go next. And then I type in the code, 1 second, then I authenticate. I'm going to leave it as AverMedia ER330. And I'm going to add, some people might get upset because everybody's going to get a notification about this. I'll go back over here and optimal quality here and streaming. And now that we're set up for streaming, again, we can hit record and it's starting to record. It's streaming what I'm doing right now. So I'll come over here. So now that we've been streaming that, I'm going to stop the stream. So it shows up under live. I have to mark it as public. Here you can see that everything we played. And now we can play it from here. It is unlisted, so you won't be able to see it. I think that is pretty awesome for what it is. So that is pretty awesome. In this video, I've taken you from the beginning, very beginning inside of the box to showing you what's inside the box, connecting it to the computer, updating the firmware, doing gameplay videos. That way you can see what's on the screen, recording to an SD card, to the NAS, to YouTube, then also recording from the PS5 and recording from the Nintendo using that other console. The Nintendo would have worked too, but mine is dead. And live streaming. The ER330 is awesome, and I believe it was under $100. You can check down in the description below for my affiliate link. I think it's awesome. I think this is an amazing option. Again, micro SD, you can record either directly plugged into an NAS through USB, through an external hard drive. You can connect through YouTube. You have so many options. I think it is amazing. Let me know down in the description what you think below. Personally, I think the ER330 from our friends at AverMedia is pretty awesome, especially for the price. Iggy with ThisBytesForYou out. See you guys.